Finally, a worthy rival. I have found a warrior with power as mine. Korona Sakura? I won't lose. We're going to bring everything to an end before dawn breaks. Very well. Perish with my true power burnt into thine eyes. Cower, grovel. My name is Noel de Beelzebub. I am Beelzebub, Demon Lord! So that was a battle intro. Welcome back, everyone. This is RFL playing Magical Bringer Korona, and this is basically the real true final boss of the game. Final boss of the Demon's Route, Exceed Noel at full strength. Now, when I was going through the saves I have available, I found that the save game I have towards the end of this route has unusually low score difficulty, magical girl level, so we're coming into this battle rather weaker than you'd expect. Here, Noel's basically saying that, what, you think I'm that easy to hit? And the chaotic chip seed effect that you would normally get only during her attack rounds is also coming when you're trying to attack her in this battle. So both normal attack rounds and normal guard rounds, you have that effect. However, as I mentioned, the difficulty level here is rather lower than it would normally be. Yeesh. Even with that, this can be a bit of a mess. But as I was saying, the difficulty here is rather lower than it would normally be if you were playing without getting it lowered. I think it's somewhere in the mid-40s, where the other final battles where I was going into them in the low to mid-80s. So, yeah. Also, this is scripted. On her second turn, Korona will always use Korona Blaster, but fool. It's kind of appropriate. Of course, Korona's a bit distraught. Her attack was just blasted away like it was nothing. But it is kind of appropriate that in combat, especially when you're facing them, Tempest and Korona Blaster are essentially the same attack. So it makes sense that they can cancel each other out like that. Unfortunately, that is very bad for you as far as combat goes, because you're wasting special rounds. Korona, as usual, will randomly use either Korona Blaster or Korona Desperado when she gets a special round, and if she happens to use Korona Blaster, most of the time it's just going to waste. There is a small chance that Noel will not counter it. At this difficulty level, I think it's 1 in 10. At higher levels, it's 1 in 30. If you're at a ridiculously low level, like below the starting difficulty, I think she'll never counter it again, but if you're fighting seriously, that won't happen. Also notice the music, it is appropriately epic. You got the electric guitars, we've got the harpsichord, and we have some of the melody that's used in Beelzebub's Castle in the second game, and then used again in that game's Exceed Noel battle. Here we have Ground Zero, with your usual opening quote. In this game, it works a little differently from the way it does in Korona 2. It's basically like her normal attack, except that the chips will sometimes start out invisible and just pop in out of nowhere when they get close to you. Like that. Overall, it's not too bad. But in any case, for this battle, I do want to, if I can at all, keep combo going, to keep the energy bar going up, to make what happens on Korona's 10th turn, I believe, particularly dramatic. And, of course, I mess it up as soon as I say that. Also, you notice in the background, we're fighting out in space and the sun is rising. That is significant. What is happening on the storyline in this path is that After the debacle with Dark Korona, Sirius basically went into hibernation to recover. And I'll focus on walking for now. Sirius basically went into hibernation to recover, and entrusted Korona with the entirety of his power. As a result, late in this story arc, Korona is fighting an enhanced strength. It's what pre-battle mode calls Hyper Korona. She has 2.5 times her normal health, she has extra attack power, she has extra defense power. And that's the only reason she's really a match for Noel in this battle. On the other storylines, in the Yuka storyline, she fights Noel with Yuka's help, and the Playa storyline, she fights Noel with Playa's help. Here we have a stronger version of Noel, and Korona is fighting her unaided. So she needs to be stronger for this to be a fair fight. And even with that, it's not particularly fair with all the tricks Noel has going on. Like that. Like, even at as low difficulty as this is, chips can come in surprisingly quickly during her attacks. And during Korona's attacks in this battle. In any case, as the storyline progressed, Korona fought Prom and Yal together, as happens on the others, by herself, in a park somewhere, while she was out shopping with her mother. Her mother then comes across this, sees the aftermath of the battle, notices a lamppost about to fall on Korona, jumps in front of it, which is understandable, but not a good idea. Korona is a lot more durable than she is, being, you know, magical girl and all that, whereas her mother is just an ordinary flesh and blood human being. She's fatally wounded. Korona flies her home, and that's when Noel shows up, saying that she has the power to save her even now, having some power over death. So she proposes that Korona fight her at full strength, with nothing held back. Make this a really exciting, no-holds-barred, all-out battle. And if Korona wins, not only will Noel give up on trying to steal Osiris, as she does on the other paths, she'll bring Mizuki back to life, Mizuki being Korona's mother. The stipulation to that is that they need to be pretty quick about it, because once dawn comes, sun rises where there is, it'll be too late for even Noel to do anything about it. And so in the background here, as the battle progresses, again, they're out in space, they're fighting here so they don't cause any trouble, disturb anyone, but you can see the sun slowly rising in the background. Korona not only has to win, she has to win fairly quickly for it to matter. Yeah, I've lost track of how many turns in we are. The game does not have a visible counter. It does count internally, which is how it handles things like Playa using her new special attack after Korona's fourth turn, the blaster counter heading automatically on Korona's second turn in this battle, and then on her 10th turn. But we'll get there. If you watched my summary of Korona 1 earlier, you know what's coming up, more or less. I did not show the entire thing there, just the cut-ins for it, but the full attack is rather impressive. Okay, Noel's down to about half health. The advantage to the difficulty level being as low as it is... Oh, here we go. Behold, Korona Sakura, dawn breaketh shortly. Oh, the sun's rising! The morning light's about to reach! And I think that means we're about to have the event. It would be nice if the energy bar were a little fuller, but That's not a bad amount. Here's Ground Zero again. Noel does also have Tempest, which works basically as it normally does. In this game, unlike in Korona 2, no matter how low the difficulty is, it will never be just a single direction. It will always at least alternate, and unlike what I believe I said before, you can get the spiral effect. It has to be over 80, I think. There's no time! Please, Asiris, other me! Lend me your power! And here's Blaster, except not exactly. Let's literally go. If you look closely, the Blaster graphic has changed. There's more energy flying out of that at more angles. There's too much for even Noel to block. And this is not Korona Desperado, but Korona Genocide. Dark Korona's attack. Although functionally it's just Desperado with 2 extra hits. And if you hit all of that, which you really should, Desperado and Genocide are made to be easy to hit. If you get all of those, you get this. Korona Desperado True. That is a enter attack with the usual strength of an enter attack. With that much in the energy gauge, that's about 20% of Exceed Noel's health, on top of the damage from 2 special moves in a row. So that's a big chunk of health. Noel is now grinning. She just wants to fight. And she's getting a fight. Yeah, on the one hand, it's kind of a shame that the Magical Girl level is this low because it makes the battle not trivial, but fairly easy. On the other hand, it's nice because that means I'm not going to have to worry about retrying it. I think what I'm going to do after this is go into free battle mode and crank up the difficulty to be around where it was on the other final battles, just to show what Noel was like at that point. And of course I'm missing now. It's not exactly the same, you don't have the scripted events, and Korona will, as Hyper Korona, start with that special attack available instead of getting it further into the battle. But Noel's stats will be the same. She'll use her same attacks. He'll still have the blaster counter, just not the scripted version at the... Not the scripted version on Korona's second turn, just at random. One more round should do it. Surprised I managed to react fast enough to block that. Maybe it's practice from the Yuka fight. Because when a chip goes that fast, that's basically what Yuka's attack is doing in that special attack that's just the one hit. And there we go. And Noel was just laughing. Yeah, that sounds about right. So here we have Normal Korona, Dark Korona, Hyper Korona, Korona and Playa, and Korona and Yuka. In Korona 2, Korona and Yuka would be your best defensive option, but in Korona 1, Hyper Korona is better. because she has more than twice as much health on top of having higher attack and defense. So she can take more damage by herself than with Yuka having the damage she takes. All the components down here. This is a introductory practice mode with Cirrus, the Dark Korona fight, 3 Nyals, 4 versions of Chrom, Nyal and Chrom, 4 versions of Playa, Possessed Yuka, Noel, and Exceed Noel. And because final score was 51, and that Gato gives you up to 10, actual difficulty was somewhere between 41 and probably about 45. But to be more on par with where we were on the other final battles, let's crank her up to 81 and see what happens. As the background, we have the final version of it, not the early, completely dark version. There's no transitioning of the background during the free battle mode version of this fight. It's just you fight. The plot elements are removed. Although the funny thing about playing as Hyper Korona in free battle mode is that both her special attacks are available immediately. True Korona Desperado as well as Korona Blaster. So you can, in theory, get that on her very first attack. Of course, you can also get Noel's special on her very first attack. Of course, that can happen in the normal battle too. Yeah. How were you even supposed to react to that? So anyways, I've been including in the comments on the videos for the other things. On the Yuka route, if you finish the game with a score of at least 60, you unlock Korona plus Yuka in free battle mode. Similarly, on the player route, if you finish at least 60, you unlock Korona plus Playa. In the Demon story path, you need a score of at least 50, and that unlocks Dark Korona. But that still leaves Hyper Korona. How do you unlock her? She's more complicated. To unlock Hyper Korona, you must finish any story path after having completed both of the others. So, you need to have all 3 complete by the end of it. And you must finish whichever route it is with a score of at least 85. I do not recommend trying that on the Demon's route. This is by far the most difficult of the final battles, especially on paper, but even more so if you're not fighting as Hyper Korona. And I botched that. Still, all that means is I'm missing out on some damage. This is still what it always is. And you only need to hit those 14 hits to get this part to come up. That's probably about 10% of her health at that level. Probably not even that. Still, it's significant. I think if I don't see Tempest this time, I'll give it another try. Just to show off Tempest for this game. Because in the intro fight with Noel at the station, she doesn't use it. And danger. Anyway, the music is appropriately intense. But yeah, having a battle with chaotic chip speeds in your attacks and your guard rounds, and having Exceed Noel's specials on top of that, it's just ridiculous. see how much longer I last. And there, I couldn't quite tap fast enough to get all 3 of those. Timing is a bit off. And honestly, this could have gone a lot worse. There's no way I'm pulling out a win, but I did get her down to about half health. Maybe more if this isn't the wrong blaster. Tried to go a little too fast there. And this will be another 10% or so. Yeah, note that in the story mode version of this battle, after that initial scripted True Korona Desperado, you can get it again as a random special attack. But you can also still get Korona Blaster at random, which Noel will still counter and negate most of the time, all without using her own turn-up. It's pretty unfair. I did get her down to red health, so maybe at 60-ish I could have done it, but I'm not seeing this happening. Unless I get True Korona Desperado several more times. Yeah, the most painful part about missing is that you completely use your energy. One miss, and you're out of energy, and you have to restart the beginning. Okay, here's Tempest. Yes, I didn't realize it was that fast. You get the spiral in Korona 2, but it's not that ridiculously fast. Anyway, just for comparison, if we do normal Korona against the same difficulty, I think it was 82 I had it at. So normal Korona has lower attack, lower defense, and 1,000 hit points instead of 2,500. So she's not nearly as durable, and she'll do, I think, half as much damage. Yes, you can see that barely scratched her. Not that you're doing all that much damage even as Hyper Korona. And of course taking significantly more damage. Actually, she's not really taking that much more damage, it's just that it's a little more, but a lot of it is just that she has less maximum health. So every hit, even if it does the same amount of damage, is effectively 2.5 times as effective. And because it's also doing a little extra damage on top of that, that means it's more like 2.6, 2.7 times. Yeah, I don't know how you're supposed to deal with that, like, at all. They made it more reasonable in Korona 2. Now, getting hit in the face with Tempest like that does affect things somewhat, but you can see I'm basically lost already, and Exceed Noel still has pretty much all of her health. Yeah. Attack. So, anyway. This has been Arafellin playing Magical Breaker Korona, and that was easily the most difficult opponent in the game. It's not as drastic on story mode because you are fighting her at enhanced strength, whereas you're not fighting the other end bosses at enhanced strength. But in free battle mode especially, it's obvious she is well beyond anyone else you fight. But in any case, this has been Exceed Noel. Come back next time and we will do the epilogue of Magical Bringer Korona 2. Hope to see you then.